BMAdawg here, and welcome to the Beantown Sports Pound, the 7th edition on IE Sports Radio. Get directly all that sports. Tonight, we got the Bruins doing so well against some metropolitan teams. Other rivals, not so much. We got BU starting their national championship chase, Frozen 4 against the surprising Penn State Nittany Lions. The Celtics are making history as they broke the 3-point record as postseason's coming in basketball. The Red Sox were red hot after the opener, but weather got cold in New England, so did the Fenway Bats. And you got some CONMED colleges to check in on, both baseball, softball, and our lax teams. And how are we doing tonight? Who's going to be the player of the week? And more next time on the Beantown Sports Pound. Your direct feed for all that sports. Turn up the sound. It's time for the Beantown Sports Pound. Woo! All right, everybody. Welcome, everyone, for tuning in on this Wednesday night evening of the Beantown Sports Pound on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. I am your host, BMAdawg. And earlier this week, I said we were going to have a race to our main eventer tonight between the Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins as they were all in action. And since the Bruins are out of the postseason, it's going to be one of our only chances to have a mini Boston equinox like we've had a couple nights ago. So one team was so hot and had a lot of buzz with a player who went through a big deal of issues in his life. We'll get more to that later. I'm glad he's okay. But I had people, because I promised to vote on the main eventer, I changed it to the opener between our Patriots talk featuring the Will Campbell mock draft, the Celtics, the Bruins coverage, and your BU national title preview. And the winner was the BU Terriers. Oh, my God. Maybe everything's working within 7 episodes to get more people in the colleges, but the Terriers are making their third Frozen 4 appearance in a row. So that one, we're going to start off with back-to-back puck. The Terriers preview, then the Bruins. Then we're going to check in on our lacrosse teams. One of them's red hot. And then we're going to take a break. We're going to go into the one Patriot place down in Foxborough with the Revs and talk Patriots in that mock draft, and to check in on our other spring sport, baseball and softball. And then your co-headliner and your main event of the evening is your reigning defending champions, Boston Celtics, and the Boston Red Sox, who are red hot in the opening series at Fenway. Which one's co-main eventing? Which one's main eventing? Find out after a lovely word from our local sponsors. Woo!
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much to our wonderful sponsors, Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet, Vital Apparel. Some of your proceeds go to mental health issues, which we're going to talk about later on our show. Seal the Deal Wax Seal for any occasion. And IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports, giving me and 30 plus other people the opportunity to cover their regional sports. We have kick-ass hockey and baseball shows that go live on Tuesdays at the same time. We got basketball show, football, even a wrestling show, which I'm going to talk about later as I got a trip coming up relating to that. But anyways, there is one more sponsor, though, before we get into tonight. Meet our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. GetRawNutrition.com. Use promo code IESI for 10% off. And that's right, folks. Being a Boston native, we don't pronounce our I's, and I'm damn proud of it. And if you want to keep up with all my crazy stuff, you can go on 2 accounts on X. My professional account at Beantown_IESI and at BMAdawg on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And we're launching our brand new supporters club. That is right, folks. Spreaker.com/podcast/the Beantown Sports Pound, spaces underneath the words /support. We're going to, for only $5 a month, you may get to do like Twitter. For example, we voted on our opener for tonight. But that's not all. That's what you can do. But anyways, it is time to get started. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. It is going to be one exciting night, and we're going to start off with some puck. Your opener is scheduled for one fall. And it is our reigning, defending, 3 consecutive Frozen Four appearance champions, your Boston University Terriers. That is right, folks. They have made the Frozen Four for the 3rd time in a row under Coach Jay Pandolfo. That is right. 3 times in a row. And he's never missed a Frozen Four, even in his early 90s days of playing college puck for BU before he went to the Devils and did all that shabazz. And it is going to be great, folks. They were 23-13-2 on the year, 14-8-2 in the Hockey East. It is an exciting time for hockey in Beantown, unlike the other professional team that we're going to talk about right after this. BU came into this Frozen Four with Jay Pandolfo's 3rd consecutive Frozen Four appearance, and it's the Terriers' 25th all-time Frozen Four berth. They came into the postseason with 3rd in the Hockey East regular season with 46 points behind 2nd place in Maine Black Bears, who got bounced by this Penn State team, and Boston College, who fell short to Denver, just like BU did last year in the Frozen Four, while Penn State came into this Frozen Four making a Cinderella run, similar that we are used to their men's tournament in the basketball, which we didn't have a lot of this year. They had 33 points this year, well, 5th in the Big Ten behind Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, and Michigan State, with a 9-11-4 record led by head coach Guy Gadowski, who, due to his regional run, is one of the national finalists for Coach of the Year, and the UConn coaches as well. And Pandolfo should definitely be up there, maybe Greg Brown for BC as well, and our Bentley head coach too. Penn State was 2nd in the Big Ten in penalty minutes with 383, while BU's Achilles heel is their bottom 3 in Hockey East in the penalty kill with 78.5%. BU was the top goal-scoring team in the nation in Hockey East with 145 goals, while Penn State was 2nd in the Big Ten with 138 goals. It is a battle of the top 10 scoring offenses in the nation, as all 4 Frozen Four participants, including Denver and Western Michigan, is a top 10 in the league in scoring offense, with BU number 4 in the country with 3.882 goals a game, while Penn State has 3.54 goals a game, while the top two teams, Denver and Western Michigan, are near a 4.0 and a 3.5 goals per game, kind of like GPA in colleges. Whether it's high or low, it's nothing to brag about, in my opinion. But anyways, respectively, while those two, unlike BU and Penn State, are top 10 in scoring defense with 4 and 7 respectively. If BU were to get by Penn State, they would have to go against the top goaltender in the country, and that is Cameron Rowe of Western Michigan with a .882 win percentage of include only giving up 1 goal per game in their tournament combined to UMass and Minnesota State. Part of BU's emergence of their dominance is relying on freshman goaltender Mikhail Yegorov, who is a freshman sensation after switching from the other goaltender midway through the season, who has 432 saves of the year and is a top 10 saving goaltender behind the likes of Jacob Fowler of BC, while he faces Arsene Sagirev, who may have had struggled in the regular season, but emerged as a red-hot goaltender of the postseason, who only gave up 3 goals combined against Hockey East rivals who gave the Terriers trouble, including the Maine Black Bears and Yukon Huskies, the team that embarrassed BU in the Garden semifinals to 3 goals altogether, while BU has the phenoms of freshman defenseman sensation, a legend in the making of Cole Hudson with a sick wraparound goal last week. He is also top 3 in the country with 37 assists, with Jack Devine and Zeev Bloom of the Pioneers that knocked out BC 2 years in a row, including last week against in the Manchester finals to get to the Frozen Four. But BU has a problem with like their arch rivals as well, as they fell short 2-1 last year in the Frozen Four to Denver. Boston teams would have to unite to get through Denver, which has become a kryptonite for Boston teams. Even TB12 struggled in Mile High in years past, including the year we played Peyton Manning when Von Miller sacked all over us. But anyways, his older brother Lane, Cole Hudson, leading our much-hated Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, to a potential playoff berth up north. He also has another brother, forward Quinn Hudson Jr. of BU, who's been phenomenal. And they have a potential battle to watch as Penn State's Aiden Fink and Cole Eiserman, who have the most of BU, have the most power play goals at 8 and 11, with both teams having a ton of penalty minutes per game. Whoever has the most penalty minutes in this game will come out on top as center Ryan Green and the leadership of Shane LaChance, who is grandson of legendary Boston University coach Jack Parker, who's led a team to plenty of national championships, including one years ago. But don't forget, too, you've got Quinn Hudson getting the game-winning goal against Cornell, but you have Gavin McCarthy's phenomenal defense, as he's one of the best Terriers on the defensive zone with over 6 block shots a game. And don't forget Matt Capone, who has scored every postseason game despite only having 6 goals of the whole season. And the man who crossed the street in Comm Avenue from Northeastern, Jack Hughes, went from the portal to help assist Hudson for the game-winning goal. And it is going to be awesome, folks. I cannot wait to watch this game. It is going to be amazing. I think they're going to beat Penn State. That's my prediction. And Denver is going to beat Western Michigan. I'm hoping for BU versus Western Michigan as the Terriers take on Penn State on ESPN2, I believe, at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow night. Catch that, even though the other team we're going to talk about next is going to be taking on the Blackhawks as well tomorrow night. And let's hope we're not behind them or anything. But we are going to move on, folks. Go BU and kick some butt tomorrow night and make it to a national title appearance. If it's BU versus Denver, get your popcorn ready. That's going to be epic and amazing. And we are going to move on. But before we do, I'm going to check in with our comments section. Glenn of the Bold North Breakdown that hosts all the Minnesota teams wrote, "Have a great show, Brian." He's been doing really well, getting better every week. Every Thursday night you can watch him. And he was a guest on our hockey show last night, The Neutral Zone, which is a phenomenal show. Everyone should check that out. They cover college hockey, men's and women's. They're going to cover the NHL playoff. Something the team I'm going to talk about is going to snap their streak. Unfortunately, it is not a good sign, folks. And let's go to the other comment. Terran Rodriguez, our workhorse of IE Sports Radio. The man is a volleyball expert, having his show Set Point, and he covers all the LA teams on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, going through everything. He must be excited for the NBA playoffs coming up, as the Lakers could make a deep run playing against the Celtics. You never know. And the Dodgers are red hot as always. But thank you, Terran, for always checking in on us on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And now it's time for some Bruins talk. And breaking news, folks, not so breaking if you've been following them since the Four Nations face-off. Our long reigning 8-year streak has come to an end after next Tuesday. There is no more men's hockey in Beantown. But there's another team we're going to cover in a few weeks called the Boston Fleet. And they started everything last week against the Montreal Canadiens. Boo! Who is currently in the second wild card spot right now. And teams like the Islanders, who lost a lot in a row, like the Bruins, the Blue Jackets, and the Rangers are all vying for that last spot. The last time these arch rivals played each other was technically a year prior, in December 3rd, for the 100th year anniversary, where the Bruins won 6-3, and half the team players are so different compared to now. You would think it'd be 5 years since that team played against each other, with the likes of Marshy, Coyle, DeBrusk, and all of them, even though DeBrusk left after last year. You would think that it would have been years went ahead with this roster, but this is a young roster, which is going to hopefully get better next year. We'll probably have a new coach. But anyways, Zacho did make a line switch with Cole Kopi going to the second line with Casey Middlestat, who's been pretty decent for the Bruins since he got traded from Colorado, going to the third line to take on Lane Hudson and the Habs. Speaking of Kopi, he got very physical with Calden Guthe midway of the game, but that fired up the dirty Habs faithful more than the Bees. The first period was really even, with the Bruins out shooting the Habs 8-7 over the team with the last wild card spot. Kopi wanted to get revenge on a cheap shot on our young forward Lysell from Guthe. A bad turnover from Andrew Peak gave a 2-on-1 breakaway on the two core players of the Habs. Nick Suzuki assisting one of the top leaders in goals of the Habs, Cole Caulfield, who was of the 2023 first round pick, Nick Suzuki, or 2022. And he got an empty netter to send the Bruins to their 10th straight, to give them their 10th straight loss going into Saturday. After all, the Habs took control and were out shooting the Bruins 14-0 in the second period. Lindholm got his sixth goal of the season to make it 3-1 for the black and gold with that assist. David Pastrnak had the primary assist on Lindholm's goal, increasing his career numbers against the Canadiens to 20 goals and 22 assists in 32 games. He has 89 points, aka 37 goals and 52 assists of the year. And Morgan Geekie has had a great game. He's always been consistent, even though we haven't had a good year. That's the one bright spot of the Bruins this year. With that assist, David Pastrnak had increased his career numbers against the Canadiens to 20 goals and 22 assists in 32 games. He has 89 points, 37 goals and 52 assists in 89 games. But Zadorov, who is current the top D man in absence of McAvoy and Lindholm, admitted in a post-game NESN broadcast that they really had a great first period, but fell apart in the second. But anyways, they're on, standing in the back. There's a hurricane coming through as the former Brass Bonanza of the Hartford Whalers, the Carolina Hurricanes, come in at Beantown on Saturday to avoid automatic elimination for the Bruins. Believe it or not, they weren't eliminated for this long period of time. The Garden's going to rock them like a hurricane, with the team clinching a playoff berth with second place in the Metropolitan Division. The Bruins may pull a Gerard Mayo and finally show up when it doesn't matter, with the Bruins scoring the first two goals of the game. Include who else but of the top line of Morgan Geekie showing up with the first goal in the game within the first 2 minutes of the first period, which started the first of 5 points for the Bees. Then Lindholm had a goal in 2 consecutive games with the Bruins, as he had high expectations from Vancouver, even though he was injured a ton this season, like Sway, with the high expectations with that big fat contract he got. But on the second period, we got a big pasta dinner as the North End's right down the street, while wiping out the flood from Carolina, with Pasta not only scoring 1, not 2, but big, huge hat trick. That is right, folks. Big, huge hat trick full of sauce, as the Bees had one night only showing like a high school reunion, but shades of fitness instead. Swayman bounced back in this game, and even though the Bees were outshot by 14, the Bruins got more physical, like the Boychuk days and the Sean Thornton days. They out-hit them 39-14, with Sway nearly getting 40 saves, and the forecheck of Zadorov and Peak helped block 25 quarter of the century block shots. Sebastian Ayo, who is one of the leaders in the Canes in goals, got a -3 for the night, and the frustrations were shown with a cheap penalty on tough man Zadorov, who has been a target for most opponents this season. Pasternak not only got a hat trick, but his 40th goal of the season and a 19th career hat trick for the current best of the B, and the longest losing streak in pain is over for now, with the longest streak in 15 years and 10 is over, as Pasta is one of the 3 Bruins of all time, with 4 straight 40-goal seasons, joining the likes of legendary Rick Middleton and Phil Esposito. They fooled Anderson, goalied the Canes with 5 goals, which is the most he gave up all season. Now we go to the team who's competing with the Bruins for the last place in the whole Eastern Conference, the Buffalo Sabres, who has really tattooed the forwards in the goals this season, but normalcy has returned for the Boston Bruins in the regularly scheduled program and is looking to avoid not only last place, but 3 losses to the longest playoff drought in hockey. The Sabres, Swayman got the night off for Corpusella, and all of a sudden, the Bruins were red hot for a whopping 4 or 5 periods in a row, including being up 2-0 with the usual Lindholm start and Pasta assistant when not scoring. The young Jakub got his 5th assist, one of our young defensemen, and Geeky getting his 7th consecutive point streak with his 29th goal of the season. And Buffalo scored the first goal from Tage Thompson, who ended up getting a hat trick. I ain't flipping for that, as he destroyed the Bees all season, as he is 3rd in NHL in goals this season, behind Dre still, as the Bruins were tied at 3 apiece on the end of the second period. Then it was all Sabres as the flash from the past for less than 24 hours was just a good, fond memory, as Buffalo ended the game with 4 unanswered goals to send the Bruins to last place, and thinking of some ping-pongs that we hope has not been consumed in underground college fraternity parties, as we hope to get a top 5 pick like the New England Patriots, as they lost 6-3 and 11 out of the last 12. Now they go to a playoff contender, the New Jersey Devils. They're probably not going to win another game, right? Even though they got lucky and destroyed Carolina Saturday. Who's the other? There's another team that nearly clinched the playoff spot in the New York market. Not the Rangers, not the Islanders, but the New Jersey Devils. The Bruins have loved to play spoiler against the playoff teams in the Metropolitan Division, with the top guys showing up Saturday to destroy the Hurricanes. They take on the New Jersey Devils, which you could tell Brodeur is long gone, as the Bruins got not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 7 goddamn goals, as first the Devils, a team that has a 99% chance to make the playoffs, as Pasternak made more history with his opening goal, and he is the first-born Czech Republic player to get 100 points in not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive seasons. Lako, who we got reunited with the Bruins in the trade deadline, got a goal. Morgan Geeky got his 30th goal of the season. Who else, right? As it was amazing, as the Bruins actually went 2-on-2 since we last went off the air last week. I cannot believe that, folks. They show up against teams like the Hurricanes and the Devils, but they get outshot by the Buffalo Sabres. But you know what they say? That's why they play the games, right? It is unfortunate how bad this team has been, folks. Unfortunately, it is a long season. It's almost coming to an end soon. I know. What are you thinking, Brian? What are you thinking, dog? You're not upset that we have no playoff hockey? Of course, we're all upset here in Boston, but at least we got another team. And next week will be the end of men's hockey in New England, as no matter what happens with the BU game, I can promise you this. I know I didn't really have a good lineup plan for this week. It was hard for me to structure whether my opener or my main eventer. But this week, folks, we are going to have a co-headliner and the main eventer be dedicated to hockey, as I don't know if it's going to be BU, depending on how they do in the tournament, or the Bruins that's going to close out our show next week. One of these two are going to close. We are going to end with a tribute to hockey in New England next week, folks. So don't tune away before we go to our commercial break. Let's do a ComAv check-ins, shall we? For our ComAv Avenue lacrosse teams. A lot of them have been doing really good, as we have a lot of good teams that a lot of people don't get the exposure for. Including from the men's division, the Harvard Crimson, who at 8-2 and 2-1 in the Ivy League. The Crimson are led by Jerry Byrne and have won 3 consecutive games. They defeated Dartmouth 18-7, including scoring a 7-0 lead in the first period, a touchdown, as you will, with Jack Spidell getting 2 hat tricks, 6 goals, and Sam King getting 2 goals and 3 assists, with John Arnott the fourth getting 3 assists. Jack Spidell leads the team in goals with 32, and Sam King is a 30-goal scorer, leading the team in assists and points with 22 and 52. They take on Penn next, division rival, with Cornell leading the Ivy League with 1 loss, and they have to play them in a few weeks. That could determine the division in the Ivy League and how well they go, because as you know, the men's national championships for college is going to be in Gillette Stadium. So we're going to move on to our other men's team, the BU Terriers. They're 8-3 with 4-1 in the Patriot League, coached by Ryan Prowley. They just lost recently to the Duke Blue Devils. Yes, they did win a game on Saturday. And no, it wasn't the team in the Final Four that blew that huge lead to Houston. We have a problem. It was evened up at 2 in the first period, when the Terriers ended up getting lopsided in the second period, giving up 5 goals to Duke. The faceoff percentage was a big part of the defeat, as a freshman had only won 1 out of 8 versus the Blue Devils. Timothy Sheehan leads the team in points with 48 and second in goals with 24, as well with assists apiece. Their goalkeeper, Will Barnes, has a 59% save percentage, while Jimmy Core leads the team in goals with 31, as their next opponent is Lafayette University next Saturday. As we're going to move on to the ladies, shall we? As there's the Harvard women's Lady Clemson defeated 14-ranked Penn with a 10-8 victory, as they were tied at 4 at the end of the first, without outscoring Penn in the fourth quarter 3-1 to make the difference, as Charlie Meyer had a hat trick in this game, as Grace Mullally and Charlotte Hodgson had 2 goals apiece, while Lizzie Frankel saved 53% of her shots for the Lady Crimson win, as they take on Cornell next, as both teams look to get their 3rd division win. Now we're going to go to the other BU team, the women's team, who was 7-5, but 2-3 in the Patriot League, as they are coached by Laura Moten. BU lost a few in a row, including a heartbreaker to Lee by a 15-4 score. Isabella Monte did have a hat trick in this game to make it 30 of the year for the team, leading goals. Both Tessa Geeds and Eel Stevenson had 2 goals and assists in this game, as they are identical in goals, assists, and points, with 19 goals, 5 assists, and 24 points, as the Lady Terriers came with an overtime loss. They take on Lyota next. But the big news for lacrosse happens to be, even though they don't have a men's team, it's the BC Lady Eagles, who came in undefeated as they are reigning defending lacrosse champions from last year. They are 13-0 coming into this top power game in the ACC, taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels, the number 2 team ranked in women's lacrosse, as they lost a heartbreaker to the Tar Heels 12-11, while beating Pittsburgh a week back with the red bandana game for our fallen hero Wells, as Rachel Clark has been dominant all season long with 64 goals, and McKenna Davis, who's a senior, leading the team with 46 assists. They take on Virginia next, which is senior day and will be played at Alumni Stadium. As our lacrosse teams, this is why I cover this stuff, folks, it's a learning experience for me to learn about these guys and girls, and it's an experience for you as well. It's to try and get more exposure, as a local and national media can spend all day talking about the Patriots for 5 hours, a 40-hour work week, which we're not going to do here. We're still going to talk about them, including after this commercial break, but I just want to let you know that's the whole point, is I'm going to try to get better when these teams make the playoffs, which some of them are. I'm going to give in-depth coverage, watch on ESPNU, and give the whole recap and give these guys and girls the exposure they deserve. As don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to take our first commercial break of the evening. Don't go anywhere. And this is IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that's.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Then check out the NorCal Sports Report with yours truly, Andre Fernandez, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We have guests every single week talking 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Sharks, San Jose Earthquakes, and a whole lot more, plus 3C2A. You do not want to miss this show. So tune in Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, everybody. The reason why I showed you these two drops, because right now a big part of the middle of the show, the midla, is going to be another Patriots mock draft. Last week I did Travis Hunter, but before we go to there, we are going to talk about the other 10 in that one Patriot place, the Revolution. As San Francisco and Chicago, I did their drops, Chi-Town Weekly and the NorCal Sports Report, because they were doing mock drafts on the Niners and the Bears, respectively. So I figured it was appropriate to do these drops. But before we get there, we're going to talk about the other 10 that one Patriot place, the New England Revolution, who had their morale high after 4 weeks of no scoring. Oh, they're a great defensive team, but can Charles Gill and Caleb Porter in the game get them back and get them on a winning streak? Or is it back to normal for the Rebs? Let's see, shall we? All right, folks, it is gonna time to talk about the Revolution as they're fresh off their first win of Caleb Porter's club to the newly momentum-building Revs to start a very long road trip after getting their first win at one Patriot place. Captain Charles Gill looked to build off their 1-3-1 4-point record as they go to Cincinnati in the jungle, which was a rainy night. You love a rainy night, just like Fenway earlier, and take on not borrowed Chase and Higgins of the Bengals, but the other football club, the Cincinnati Football Club. Before we get into that, there's a story that longtime Gillette security guard Deb Ross, who's been around since the Revs started their inception in the 90s, is recovering and battling lymphoma. We give our wishes here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. And she has missed only one Revs match at the time, which is pretty amazing. And as a support of each player and coaching staff, despite the up and downs, and she shared words of wisdom with the team during their practices before their first home win. And hopefully they can dedicate the season to her, as it started in the 24th minute, as Brian Sellos had a left corner opportunity, but was shanked wide left by the Revs, and it was very intense, low-scoring defensive battle until the 65th second half of the game, as Ivanchik of the Reds had an amazing game, as he did save 3 quality kicks. They did have their team high in 15 shots of the season. Charles Gill, off his 2-goal performance last week, got 3 of those shots, and so did Brian Celebrinos, including hitting a post late in the game that would have tied it. Max Umi, congrats him, achieved his 300th career MLS game. Hats off to him as he played 55 minutes of play, one of the longest Revs with field time of the night. But the Revs returned to their low to no scoring way. So as Caleb Porter's seats begins to light up as the Revs go to Atlanta, take on the Atlanta United FC, as they are right in the race of the playoff spot in the Eastern Conference in 9th place. And the Revs will look to bounce back as their long road trip continues. But now is the moment you're all waiting for. Hopefully they can pick it back up today. And now we're going to talk about the other tenant, the New England Patriots. Yes, it is, folks. We are going to talk about them right now. And let's hit the comment section, shall we? Speaking of Adam Karnick earlier, where we dropped his Chi-Town Weekly. Hello, Brian. Who is New England zeroing in on with the 4? That is a great question, Adam. Who are we zeroing in with? But anyways, if you want to know the answer to that, my answer is you'll have to find out in 2 weeks' time. As I told everyone, we were going to start a 3-week mini mock draft series. Last week, we did the Heisman Trophy winner, product of Coach Prime, Travis Hunter, was a wide receiver / cornerback phenom with shades of Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers, as the IE Sports Radio fan knows all that well. But that is a great question, Adam, because we're going to build it up, because I didn't want to spend all 2 months going through the draft and repeating myself. But we will talk about one of the likely spots is Will Campbell. But before we get into that, we are going to talk about a transaction that happened. They traded quarterback Joe Milton to Dallas for, I believe, a 7th-round draft pick, and selected longtime and released longtime linebacker Juwan Bentley, who was here for 8 years last week. I forgot to mention that in last week's part. I know. But Joe Milton looked really good in the last week of the season, which could be the worst victory in Boston sports history, as we went from being comfortable number 1 and had teams that might have traded up for us, kind of like Adam as your Chicago Bears got a lot of draft picks over there, including the Carolina Panthers, who ended up trading up to get Bryce Young, who could have just waited and took in C.J. Stroud. But Lovie Smith, as you know him all too well, he should have a statue in the state of Texas, as he won that game 2 years ago against the Colts and gave him the second pick that got C.J. Stroud instead of team like the Panthers traded all the way up to get Young. Young could bounce back this year, as could some of these quarterbacks, including Joe Milton, but I don't think he's going to be a starter like he wants to be if he's going to Dallas. But who knows? The Dallas Cowboys have had bad luck as Dak Prescott went down with an injury this year. And Cooper Rush, I don't believe, is no longer with the team. And Trey Lance, who knows where he is, but I know the Niners technically wanted Mac Jones, and Mac Jones left Jacksonville after he left New England, and he's going to San Francisco. A guy, Kyle Shanahan, wanted to back up Brock Purdy. It's going to be interesting to see how that works, folks, shall it? And Adam Karnick responds with, just so, as long as the Bears don't trade up for Ginty. That is so funny, Adam. Ginty, I think he could be good. If the Patriots don't end up getting Hunter or Carter, I would love if we got Ginty, because I know we have Ramondre Stevenson, and he didn't do that bad with a terrible, terrible, terrible offensive lineman. But speaking of offensive linemen, we are going to talk about Will Campbell and what do I think their draft should be if they draft Campbell. I drafted a bunch of players using the Pro Football Simulator, and I want to remind everyone that Adam Karnick had an Athlon sports expert coming on the Chi-Town Weekly show this past week on Monday, who went over all the guys later in the rounds. These guys are really good at what they do. As I'll admit, not that smart at covering college, but since I'm part of IE Sports Radio, I've been paying more attention to highlights as I'm going to cover BC this year and Harvard, who's D2, and maybe Bentley as well. But anyways, I think that's a good move because the Patriots might be targeting some players in the 4th or 5th round, who I believe we got for Joe Milton. A lot of people thought the guy was worth a 2 second or third round pick, but he only played against Bills guys who clinched everything, who knew they'd have to go to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. And they didn't want the Patriots to get back to the old days because they believe they're the new team in the AFCs, which possibly shows the Jets are the Jets. Jets, it should be J-O-K, joke. As with that team and Aaron Rodgers, maybe he'll sign with the Steelers, maybe not, but we do miss the Tom Brady days terribly here in New England. It is sad that we're not in our winning ways, but maybe Mike Vrabel in the game can get him back, as he made his first conference video that came out a few hours ago telling the team, put your phone in your pocket, call if you're going to be late. Put your hood down when you're in the team facilities. Something that I don't think Gerard Mayo tried to establish until a problem got worse and he couldn't handle it right, as some of those guys were so happy that he was coaching at the Belichick, but then everything fell apart as the Pats did win their final game of the season, and he celebrated like he won the freaking Super Bowl, for crying out loud. And then few out, not even the day ending, you got notifications on your ESPN app that he got axed of the New England Patriots, which told me that maybe Kraft planned this knowing that you want to be a successor, and that's what Mike Vrabel's going to do, as he did lead the Titans to an AFC Championship game years back. And unfortunately, I was there for Brady's last ever matchup, and it was not fun. It was a sad moment in Boston sports history. But hey, I didn't attend the final Game 7 against the Panthers, which was just as sad, as we had the most wins we've ever had in the regular season with the Bruins. But it's also another sad thing. But we haven't bounced back, only one playoff berth and one winning season since then, with Josh McDaniels is back on the roster, who led Mac Jones to develop guys like Kendrick Bourne, as he's still on the roster. We did sign Stephon Diggs. We signed former Jet right tackle Morgan Moses. We signed Milton Williams of the Eagles, a Super Bowl winner who sacked Kermit the Frog 2 times. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. So I am looking forward to see what this team can do. But before I get into my mock draft, Juwan Bentley, just like Matthew Slater, was there for a long time, as he was one of the few Super Bowl rings with him. He did really good, but injuries were a problem, as some outside issues too. But we got Christian Barrymore getting back from all his legal stuff better than ever, as he turned out okay, as he's back in the facility. So let's see what he can do on a newly offensive line, especially if we do get Abdul Carter, which I'll do a mock draft with him next week. But the present now is LSU tackle Will Campbell. You people are all waiting for this, and now it's time for the results of my mock draft that I did. I ended up taking, obviously, Will Campbell, offensive tackle of LSU, in a simulator, a Pro Football Talk, I believe. But Cam Ward went number 1 with Tennessee, and I believe Shador went 2 with the Browns in that draft, and Travis Hunter went with the Giants in this. But let's hope that one of those guys are available. I would love Will Campbell, but I don't know if we should take him at number 4. But I pretended like I was in the front office of the Patriots. No, I'm not like the A's doing the money ball and then falling apart. Not even have a city next to my name. But anyways, back to the Patriots. As for the second round pick, I ended up taking a receiver who actually might not be there. He might be a top 20 pick. Is wide receiver of The Ohio State University, who BU beat a few weeks ago, and the team that won the national championship, defeating the Irish at Notre Dame, Emeka Akuba. He was a great receiver for the Buckeyes. He did really well this year, catching a lot of touchdowns, and he is the kind of guy. The Ohio State University has produced an LSU, who is Will Campbell's. Ironically, I talk about them as they paired together. I didn't do this intentionally. Have had the best receivers coming in the NFL in the last 5 years. As LSU had Malik Neighbors, both Jamar Chase, who got paid, and Justin Jefferson of the Vikings. You also have Jackson Smith-Nigma of Seattle, who they felt like they were confident to move on from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett because of that guy. He had a breakout year. He's one of the best fantasy sleepers of this past 2024, which anyone can come out of Ohio State as a receiver. They all turned out wicked good. And for the 69th pick in the third, I traded down because I think I traded with the Cowboys in this, and I got a second round, a 2026 second round pick from the Cowboys. I ended up taking an edge, kind of like what Abdul Carter's position is, Princely Umanmielen of Ole Miss, because he faced some really good players in the SEC, including Quinn Ewers of Texas, who is going into the draft. Even though he won't be a top pick, he'll be there somewhere. This is a good for the Patriots because we need an edge, even though Vrabel's a defensive-minded coach and we signed Milton Williams and we're getting Barrymore back. I think this is a really good move so we can have that extra defensive doubt. And we got one repeated player from my mock draft from Travis Hunter trying to recreate the mac and cheese combination before he went all haywire, the Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski combination with either Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry, who's getting up there. Harold Fanikin Jr., tight end of Bowling Green, who is pretty decent this year. He can block and he can catch routes, which is odd for a tight end not named Travis Kelce or even Brock Bowers, who had a breakout year, as he could have a Brock Bowers type year. Who knows? But if I really want an extra depth and tight end, even though Hooper did really good this for what he had with limited options, we could use another tight end to help block and get guys like Diggs, or even if they keep Pop Douglas or Kayshon Boutte or even Kendrick Bourne. And hopefully Baker or Polk can emerge too after they barely did anything. One of them caught a few touchdowns, but with a new coaching staff, maybe our wide receiver curse in the draft will be over with. As in this draft, I had Migma from Ohio State University. I made a trade with Seattle to trade down to get a 2026 fourth-round pick, and I ended up taking another edge. How about this? This is my mistake on this part. Tyler Barron of the Miami Hurricanes, who Miami did have a breakout year. With Cam Ward, the prospective number one quarterback, going to be. He didn't want to come in after his bowl game, folks. As I don't know if that's a good sign. I don't know if I'd kill myself to trade him if I were a franchise. But Tyler Barron, and other edge back. What was I thinking? But I decided to pair Will Campbell with another teammate, not a tackle, but an offensive guard, is Garrett Dillinger. You cannot have enough linemen, because if someone gets hurt, it's the National Football League. It's a rough sport. Someone's going to get hurt, and you need to protect Dre May or Ramondre Stevenson to be able to run and ground and pound like Vrabel was able to do with Derrick Henry, and like the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do, protect their offensive linemen and have Saquon Barkley almost set the rushing record. Is you can never get, especially guys that know each other. I support this pick of Garrett Dillinger. I also got an extra safety, is Sebastian Castro. We can develop him. We don't need someone right away. As a 6th-round pick, I did get a running back in case Antonio Gibson or Ramondre doesn't stay healthy. As running back, Devin Neal of Kansas, as we need another running back just to keep that, because those guys are very injury prone. You want to keep them healthy, like car mileage. And for my irrelevant pick, Zach Frazier, of cornerback of UTSA, is, I'll be honest, I don't really know much about this player, but we could use it in case Carlton Davis, who we got from the Detroit Lions, and our star player, Christian Gonzalez, who is phenomenal, keeping elite players to under 100 yards when they play him. People don't like to throw at him, and that's when the Patriots were not good the past 2 years. Imagine a defensive-minded coach like Vrabel, see how this team can do. But that is enough of the Patriots today. Like I said, next week, folks, is going to be a big show. It will be a big show next week because we are going to talk about Abdul Carter after doing Hunter last week and Will Campbell tonight. We are going to talk about Carter. It's going to be a great pick. I believe this is going to be awesome for the Patriots. I would love to take Abdul Carter Travis Hunter is most likely going to go to the Browns now. Oh, yeah, let's go back to the comment section, shall we? It's enough Patriots talk for one night. Comment section. Oh, Ralph Calise of the Yinzer Report. Yinzer. He runs a great Pittsburgh show, as our two teams are going to be playing each other, but surprisingly not for playoff implications. The Bruins. He wrote, "Hello, Brian. Just jumping on quick to say have a great show, my man. Thank you, Ralph, for always checking in on us." And another comment is, there was a video of Vrabel laying out the way he wants the players to act as a Patriot, and I loved it. I just talked about it like 5 minutes ago. It was great, man. We need that culture. It was kind of like what Mayo didn't do with the Patriots. I don't fault Gerard Mayo for a lot of this. I really don't. I know a lot of people are angry at him, and rightfully so, because of everything that happened in the past year. It was a rough year because everyone thought, because we had a terrible offense and a top-ranked defense 2 years prior in Belichick's final year, that we couldn't be any worse offensively. I was one of them included. Oh, boy, was I wrong, and the defense regressed. But we're going to do a quick check-in before we take another break for our co-headliner and the main event of the evening, folks. We are going to do another check-in, but another spring semester sport, but our Commonwealth Avenue baseball and softball check-in. First with the men's in baseball. You got the BC Eagles. Well, 14-17, 5-10 in the ACC. They take on the Fighting Irish next with UConn on Tuesday. The ACC is very competitive. But the Eagles won yesterday in a 3-0 shutout against the UMass Riverhawks, as they got their ALS game for Pete Freight, who, if you remember virally over 10 years ago, people were dumping ice buckets on his head to raise awareness for ALS because he was on a wheelchair. But hats off to him and that foundation. But one of their players is a great first baseman. Kyle Wolf leads the team in home runs with 5 and is a great hitter, while outfielder Patrick Roach leads the team in RBIs with 27. And you got another great men's team, a really great men's team, though, even though BC has a lot of competition, as ACC and SEC is really dominant in college baseball and softball, as they got the nice year-round weather. Not like here where we're freezing our asses off 2 days, and then you didn't even need a jacket on a day like today. Talk about crazy weather. Northeastern's one of the best out of all the 3 men's teams we have, as they're 21-9 and 7-2 in the Coastal Division record. 3-game slate with Hofstra, and they got 2 games versus Kent State next. The Huskies are led by their outfielder, Cam Milando, who is one of the most accurate fielders in New England and leads the team in batting with 10 home runs and 33 RBI. They also have Jack Goodman and Harrison Feinberg, who are second and third with the Huskies in hitting, with 6 home runs and 24 RBIs and 9 home runs and 27 RBIs, respectively. And he also had a triple RBI yesterday versus Campbell College to get the Huskies to sweep. And you got the Harvard Crimson, who was struggling this year, 3-19, 1-6 in the Ivy League, as they take on Princeton next to try to right the ship up and hope they get better. As Northeastern beat BC last week 3-0 in the Bean Pot. They don't just do this in hockey, but in college baseball as well. And the finals are going to be in a few weeks at Fenway Park, as well as an ALS game for Pete Freight's at Fenway, which I'll try to check one of those and see college baseball live. And now we're going to move on to the ladies in softball, where the BC Eagles are 15-14, but 3-8 in the ACC, as they take on Louisville next with Quinnipiac. Next, they lost to Villanova 11-2 yesterday. They are led in home runs and RBIs by Jordan Stevens, an outfielder, with 6 and 22 respectively, while Bailey Kendorski and Kelly Conneran lead the team in strikeouts for pitching with 63 and 56 each. The BU Terriers don't have a baseball team, but they have a really elite softball team, as they're 24-11, but undefeated, 8-0 in the Patriot League. Their next opponent's Kentucky. Actually, those 2 teams are playing each other. I think they played earlier today, but I will try to recap that next week. But BU is doing really well as one of their pitchers, Casey Richard got named Patriot League Player of the Week with 14 strikeouts within a week and leads the team in M2 with 151 in the year, which is a big number 2 nationally, I believe, while Kylie Doherty leads the team with 8 home runs and 33 RBIs, while Megan Coyle leads the team in RBIs with 36. And now you got your Lady Crimson, who did make the only Boston area team, well, UConn's kind of far away, to make the NCAA basketball tournament, and the only ComAv team to make it, as they got bounced by Michigan State. But the softball team took on their arch rival Yale, and they play Merrimack next. They're highlighted by pitcher Nicole Hunter, who's 7-1 for the season with 37 strikeouts and only giving up 18 earned runs. The Crimson just swept Penn 3 times on the contest, and they won 11-1 with 4 different players getting home runs, including Sophie Sun, who leads the team in home runs with 6, while Maya Douglas and Finlay Payne lead the team in RBIs with 16 apiece. And that is all we got for our ComAv colleges for tonight. It was nice to finally be able to check in and get the exposure they deserve. And Adam Karnick, before we go to our next break, said, my daughter got very excited to hear you say mac and cheese. Well, that was a combination because Kraft owns the Patriots. That's a joke. Like Mac, Gronkowski, and Hernandez. That was like a combination, as I was referring to earlier. And up next, we're going to take our last commercial break for any, as we got 2 hot teams in Boston right now. Which is co-headlining, which is the main event of the evening. You're all going to have to find out together after this commercial break on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that's.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold, and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the commercial break and had a little time to yourselves there, as we are going to get to our co-headliner of the evening. So far tonight, we went over the Will Campbell stuff for the Patriots. We also went over all of our puck talk as BU takes on Penn State tomorrow, and the Bruins are out of playoff contention. But with sadness in Causeway Street, it's now time to rise for your co-headliner, your reigning, defending, 19-time NBA champion. That is right, folks. Your 19-time NBA champion, Boston Celtics, who broke another three-point record. You got that right, folks. They are on a roll, as one guy said in the 80s when the old Garden was there. The Celtics are the boss. That is, they are on a roll, even though they did lose right after we went off the air last Wednesday night to the Tyler Herro and the Miami Heat. They are going like crazy. The Miami Heat are a longtime playoff rival, even though they don't have their face of the franchise, Jimmy Butler, anymore. They still defeated us with 124 to 103 victory, as the Celtics were once down by 20 points to shrink the Heat lead to single digits a few times. But a fourth quarter was a huge letdown, even though Jaylen Brown overcame his struggles and got 24 points. The Heat came into this game with a ton of momentum, the most since sending Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors to team with Stephon Curry and Kerr and NoCal. That Curry wasn't good to Tatum in the Olympics. I can care less about him. But Tyler Herro, like Kobe White of the Bulls, have been so hot for teams looking to make the play-in relevant. Don't forget, the Celtics were without Holiday, Porzingis, and Al Horford. Tonight, they're out with way more than that. But with an ankle sprain all sitting out, longtime Heat coach Eric Spoelstra got his 785th win since coaching the Heat, since LeBron took his talents to South Beach with legendary face of the franchise Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh winning a few titles with them. Longtime Celtic killer Bam Adebayo got 21 points, and Anderson on the bench getting 19 points on the bench. As part of the reason the C's lost was a rare inaccurate field goal percentage from the face of the franchise of Boston, Jason Tatum, only making 4 out of his 17 non-3 shots with 16 points, while Luke Cornett looked decent, setting up a slam dunk to benchman Nikitas Quinta, who has 7 rebounds in this game. Derek White does help a lot of these guys thrive, but he had 4 turnovers in this game, which was critical in the fourth quarter. This could be a preview, as they could face each other for the third year in a row. We will preview all 4 play-in teams next week on the Beantown Sports Pound, as we don't know before we go on the air who's going to play the Celtics, as we most likely locked up the second seed. But then they play the team that's been the most disappointed franchise in maybe all of sports, the Phoenix Suns. Well, from a shocking high-scoring game a week prior to the low results of the highly expectations in the West for the past 4 years, as the C's look to restart their winning ways against Devin Booker, the face of the desert, who always shows up at TD Garden, along with legendary secondary face of the NBA for years behind LeBron James, Kevin Durant, who got 30 points the last time these two played each other. But it was a game after a scary-looking injury for Jason Tatum when they played the Kings a couple nights before that a few weeks ago. Had the Celtics won one of their long 6-game road trip with franchise record of all double-digit wins. But Durant did not play in this game, as you could tell, as Al Horford and Luke Cornett had great defensive showings this game, with a beautiful crowd chanting "dog," like "dog," woo, slam dunk, as these big men can drive to the damn hoop. But obviously, since Durant wasn't there, they didn't need him because Booker was a one-man show with 37 points. One time he did have over 70 years prior at the gun. Well, without Durant, as the Suns have struggled all season long like the team we defeated in the finals down south, these Suns have been a huge disappointment with them losing 5 in a row. But they did get Bradley Beal back after missing games to an injury. He missed all 3-point events as Al Horford slammed him to get a rebound. The highlight of the night was the Jaylen Brown return to his old ways as he had a buzzer-beating shot, swish, like Peyton Pritchard had a few in the NBA Finals last year, as the Celtics walked away with doing what they do best and break three-point records like cracking eggshells with the yolk slipping all over those who try to conquer despite rotating injuries all season long, like when Porzingis had to leave early, getting elbowed by the cheap shot artist Cody Martin. Peyton Pritchard started the lopsidedness with a three-point record with 3:40 into the second as he got a Celtics record with his 1,364 three-point. And that's amazing. And he's got other players on the team who's trying to break his own record and other people's in the NBA the past like 5 decades or so, as they have the tank for the flag, the Washington Wizards, coming up next. The Wizards on Sunday, both these cities are making history with the Boston 3 party and Ovi's record-breaking goal scoring over Wayne Gretzky in hockey. But this is a different type of history for the Wiz, as former beloved Celtics defender Marcus Smart getting traded a few summers ago that bought in Porzingis and Holiday stood up to a toxic fan, having the Garden faithful chanting, "We want Marcus, we want Marcus," as he was a healthy scratch at the game. But let's be honest, Tatum did not need to play this game as the bench of the seas of Hauser and Pritchard scored over 18, with Horford and Cornette continuing their red-hot defense and emergence of Torrey Craig making use of his limited playing time with 4 blocked shots, and former Celtics bench stud Malcolm Brogdon being a healthy scratch for this game. No returning C's, huh? As Al Horford has a lot to be happy about, as his Florida Gators won the national championship. Congratulations to them and a local New England college, Gino Auriemma and Paige Buellers, and the UConn Women's Huskies for winning the title. Congratulations to them. As the Celtics was given all the Wizards starters -13 to -32, as Sarr had too much to handle with 3 turnovers to help the C's with a high of 36-point lead. A star rookie, Bayless Shearman, had a nice steal to make a Jrue Holiday layup, as Sam Hauser got a fourth-quarter 3, getting the NBA's 3,500th and 580th 3 of the season. What a number. As they can sweep not only the Knicks, but the whole Atlantic Division last night, as it was a nationally televised game on TNT. The Celtics came into MSG matchup looking forward to sweeping another Atlantic Division. For the Knicks are the only team in the Atlantic not to go off the rails, unlike the other 3, the Raptors, the Nets, and the very, very disappointed fragile body of Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, who's having a really terrible, just like you think the Suns had bad expectations. Oh boy, the Philly fans aren't happy, but they got a Super Bowl and beaten Patrick Mahomes, so I'm not going to feel sorry for them. But the past offseason, they got star center Karl Anthony Towns from the T-Wolves, and tonight he played so well that all matchups versus the Knicks have winning margins of at least 13 until tonight, where most Celtics players had at least 2 turnovers tonight, while Jaylen Brown did get shut down pretty bad with only 6 points for the night. The game was a back-and-forth game with one of the rare instances where the Celtics had a terrible night shooting threes. Or did they? Well, the guy who was injury-prone and usually takes it to the hoop, Porzingis, had 8 threes for the night, including the game winner, while Jason Tatum had 32 points, and he finally had a bounce-back game, even though they played Jalen Brunson, who's returned to the game, who leads the team in points and assists. He had 32 points, and he got the game tying and an amazing offensive rebound from OG Anunoby with under 135 left to go. Karl Anthony Towns did have a double-double, which include getting it ahead of Jaylen Brown, but it didn't matter, as Porzingis had a career high of 34 points, as the Celtics out of balls with a 3-game winning streak and winning 12 out of the past 13, as they remain 1 win away from 60 with the 2nd seed, as they basically clinched, as we could find out who they're playing their upcoming games are tonight against Pablo Banchero and the Orlando Magic, with most of the team not playing. Tatum's out, Porzingis is out, Jrue Holiday is out, as it's Peyton Pritchard and Hauser taking care. Not sure if they ended up playing Brown, but let's take a live look at the Celtics, shall we? Let's take a live look in right here. See how they're doing tonight. Just like the Red Sox are playing, who's going to be a main event in it. They're in the half playing against the Orlando Magic. Could it be a first-round preview as they are going to clinch the play-in spot? They're losing 41-49 with Luke Cornett, Pritchard, Hauser, and Torrey Craig getting the start. Craig's getting rebounds, but no points. What's up with that? Baylor Sherman probably getting his first career start with 9 points. And you've got a lot of bench players getting some playing time tonight, as there's no Derek White, no Jaylen Brown, and they're probably not going to play against the Hornets next week, as they are going to be looking into the live playoff stuff. As we're going to cover next week, it won't be a main eventer because there won't be much to recap, because none of the star players are probably going to play against one of the NBA's worst, just like the Wizards. The Hornets have been pretty bad for a long time. But now it's time to get to our main eventer of the evening, folks. And it is your team that just had their opening day at Fenway, the Boston Red Sox, baby. Woo! As they are currently live against Toronto, but they just had their Fenway opener. But before I get into that, they have a hit documentary going into Netflix where it explores the current team, kind of like Hard Knocks for football. There's a Netflix documentary coming up. And obviously, Tristan Cassis says he loves to be bad and get people talking. But my heartfelt condolences goes to our all-star MVP left fielder, Jarren Duran. I know there's some games he struggled, but mental health is no joke, folks. As we have one of our sponsors, Vital Apparel, where some of your clothes goes to proceeds for mental health, which is very important. Can be very hard. I can imagine how hard Boston can be for opposing teams, because people do get bent out of shape, including guys in sports radio that focus more on the negatives than the positives. That's why I'm trying to cover college sports, and IE Sports Radio core values to cover as much sports as possible, including giving the likes that get no media coverage. I love all our teams, don't get me wrong, but I don't need to spend a whole work week talking about the negativity. Of course, I'm going to be real, like with the Bruins, I'm disappointed, and the Red Sox have been disappointed the past few seasons, but my heartfelt condolences to Jarren Duran, and keep kicking ass and lead us to a playoff berth. And I'm glad you're okay. As the Red Sox came into Fenway with their opener, but they played the Baltimore Orioles first. The team who won my first ever main event of three-way with a red-hot home winning streak, as the Bats minus the Torpedoes got the heat up. As spring is booming in the Commonwealth with a dramatic showing in Baltimore to finally win a series. First, the Orioles, as the Bats decide to heat up after losing 3 out of 4 to the West, leading Rangers right after a big contract extension. The man of the hour, Garrett Crochet, got his money's worth as he struck out 8 Orioles to give the Sox the 3-0 victory to start a mini streak. With a career-high 8 innings pitched, Chapman, like Crochet's last start, got the win in opening day to say, and he also got the save to bail him out to get his first of many exciting victories at a Red Sox uniform. It all started with a story as Trevor got his first home run of the season to give the Sox the 1-0 lead in Camden Yards, and Devers got out of his slump with an RBI. And speaking of new deals, rookie sensation and former minor league player of the year, Christian Campbell, got 2 doubles and 2 runs in this game. Then the Sox go up north to Fenway as we prepare for the first of many homestands of the season against a team we broke our curse and won 2 World Series against, Nolan Armando and the St. Louis Cardinals. But before that, the Red Sox got their first series win of the season as they defeated the Orioles 8-4. And Tanner Hoke did improve, but the batters bailed him out as he only went 4 innings after his disastrous first start in Texas. But hopefully tonight he's doing a little better, as the last time I checked against Toronto, the Sox were tied at 1. But we'll get back to opening day now, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. The Sox start their season at home in a series versus the Cardinals, who failed to take the NL wild card last year. Walker Buehler got the first Green Monster start of the season, going against Eric Fried, who's got his opening day win with the Cards. And boy, did the Monster get a workout. Hold on to your beers and wait a little longer, because our bats were unleashed without the Torpedoes, as we got 5 runs in the first inning, back-to-back homers from Wilyer Abreu and Trevor Story. Buehler was scoreless for a few innings before letting in the first run onto the game, but the Cards had a great fourth inning with the Hara homer that scored in Burleson and Armando, which cut the lead by the fifth inning to 6-5 for the Sox, as Abreu continued his hot streak, diving in Cassis with a sick double, making it 8-5. Donovan of the Cardinals continued his hot streak with a home run earlier in the sixth run. He's one of the top fives in home runs this year so far. Then Devers got unleashed, hitting a power RBI to make the Sox go up 11-6. But Criswell got some pitching experience and almost made the opener choke hazard of reliever for the Sox as he gave up 3 runs. Then comes in Chapman to clean up the Sox win in what was a last nice sunny day in Boston until the rain came in. Buehler did get the win, though. He struggled and allowed 5 runs and 7 hits. This was a beautiful tribute to 1975 AL pennant winner Louis Tion, who passed away, and Chapman walked a few before getting the double play to get the save for the Sox. Then the rain canceled Saturday's game before a doubleheader on Sunday, before Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN as well, as Sean Newcomb got his second start of the season, taking on Andre Palenti, as Newcomb gave up as a win. He signaled he's back as Devers shut down the naysayers as he hit a whammy to get a 2-1 lead. The game was tied at 2. Then Garrett Whitlock, who has been outstanding all year so far, gave up a few runs to Pages, as Pages had a great game as he doubled to drive 2 in to make it 4-2. The young kid Romy Gonzalez, who got the start for Cassis, did hit an RBI single to drive in Story. Then a Devers walk scored Abreu, who was the opening day hero for the Sox with 2 home runs. Chapman stays red hot as he struck out 2 in extras. Then Abreu channels his inner Big Papi as Tessie plays at Fenway and he drives in Bregman, and the Sox have back-to-back series wins with a game later as they win their second game of the series. A few hours later, the last game, the bats came out after a 1-game break, as Hunter Dobbins made his big game debut, as he got called up from Worcester while he was on the big stage as well, with the Cards going with Miocas, with the guy never forgetting his first trip to Fenway, unlike a child who gets to run the bases on a Sunday afternoon for the very first time, as he got tattooed, giving up 11 hits. There was some great fielding plays on this one, as Abreu got a fielding assist throwing from a right field huge fastball after a single to get Bregman to Bailey tagged the Cardinal runner from advancing, and the crowd went nuts as Jordan Walker robbed the Sox to steal a home run a few innings later. The offense made Dobbins' debut an easy one as he got the victory in an 18-run-7 game with a sweep. Get the brooms ready. How sweep it is. Bregman was lights out, which he got his Fenway home run and a career-high 6 RBIs. Statement of his days with Houston, and Devers got his 4th career 4-hit game. Now we have a weekday homestand with the Blue Jays, and the weather just got bad. But let's do some player check-ins before we talk about our current stand with the Jays. Jarren Duran was 4-16 versus the Cards and 6 versus the Blue Jays with 3 strikeouts, as the Jays had a great game, 1 versus the Jays, and he struck out 3 times in game 2. He did struggle, but he made really good plays on the field. Defensive designated hitter Rafael Devers, 7-11. Get a Slurpee while you're at it versus the Cardinals with 1-6 versus the Blue Jays with a sac fly in the game 1 and hit his first home run of the season on opening day after being hitless in his first 15 at-bats on the season. Third baseman Alex Bregman went 6-13 through the Cardinals, 1-7 versus the Blue Jays as he had 6 RBIs and a home run during the opening homestand. First baseman Tristan Cassis went 2-10 versus the Cardinals, 1-3 in his 1 game versus the Blue Jays. Hit a double to bring in an RBI, but he struck out a few times. Trevor Story did do okay, 4-13 versus the Cardinals, 2-7 versus the Blue Jays. Hit an opening day home run, which was really good. But William Abreu was amazing on the bat and the field again, as he has the highest batting average in all of baseball, besides the guy we're going to talk about, George Springer of the Blue Jays. 6-12 versus the Cardinals and pinch hit game 2, while 0-5 versus the Blue Jays, and had an amazing double had a game versus the Cardinals when he threw out a Cardinal trying to get the third base and had a clutch hit in game 1. Sensation Christian Campbell, second baseman, 2-9 versus the Cardinals, 1-4 versus the Blue Jays. And Doug Hamilton pinch hit, but he hasn't gotten a hit all series. As Cardinal went 1-4 versus the Cardinals, who's been struggling with his batting all year, even though it's decently catch. He got injured Monday night against the Blue Jays. We hope he's okay, but he'll be out for 10 days. As Carl Never, the young guy, 4-7 versus the Cardinals, including RBI, but he's been hitless versus the Blue Jays. But center fielder who people worried about his bats, but he did steal a base as he's a really sneaky guy. Dean Raphael went 4-8 versus the Cardinals and 4-5 against the Blue Jays. Best hitter in the struggling Jays series so far. He did hit a sacrifice fly in game 1 of the doubleheader. But you got a good reserve fielder who plays left fielder for Duran or for right fielder for Abreu. Rob Reifsander went 1-3 versus the Cardinals, including 1-3 with a hit versus the Blue Jays. But that is good as we move on to Toronto. The Blue Jays came into Fenway owning the Red Sox and going from last week to the Crochet and Campbell extension to a guy who many in Boston hoped to join us after losing the Solar sweepstakes from the Yankees, but went to the other team in New York, the Mets. Star slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got another $1 million deal with the Jays, came in with Bo Bichette, who's been a consistent great hitter like Nomar Garciaparra and Derek Jeter was with the Yankees. With George Springer having a great season so far, leading the league in hits with the newly added Anthony Statander, a star catcher from the Orioles, who had the first series loss to the Sox last week, as Richard Fitz got the start, but he gave out outs to each of the top 3 Blue Jays. But Barrios snaps a win streak for Fenway in the frigid cold temperatures as Abreu got chilled out as his running hit streak with the Sox bat throws up with the Jays getting out hitting the Sox 13-5 hits. And a 6-2 win with Raphael having a great game with an outstanding sliding catch, even though it did not matter. Then it's Crochet Day yesterday, where he and Lucas got his first career start, but he was phenomenal for the Blue Jays, going 8 innings. And through 5 innings, both pitchers were light out. And another full spring at Fenway, just like before the 6th inning, a solo homer from George Springer. Then Crochet struggled the most he has struggled in his 3 starts. He did have 5 strikeouts, but he couldn't make the 6th inning as he got relieved to tear up as he didn't make it out. As Christian Campbell had a really bad throwing error to make the Blue Jays go up 2-0. That's all they needed, as the Sox only won was Rafaela, who was the only successful Sox in the series so far. Drives in the new catcher for the injured Juan Gonzalez. Did have his only run of the night as they lose their first Fenway and divisional series versus the longtime AL East rival, as they look to avoid a sweep tonight before looking towards the other Sox team this weekend, who was the former home of Crochet, with the league worst run team in the past few years, unlike that other team in Chicago who broke a curse like the Sox and has been leading the whole league besides the Dodgers in hitting, but they don't have a celebration shake. The White Sox do. What are they celebrating in the White Sox? They didn't do anything. Yeah, if anything, you could sell it at Fenway because John Henry finally opened up his wallet and stopped being cheap. But then they take on Tampa Bay Rays next week, who is led by Brandon Lowe, who has been struggling, losing 3 in a row, as they don't really have a home field after Tropicana Field got destroyed. But let's check the AL East in. Toronto's in first with a 7-5 record. Our arch rival New York Yankees, Aaron Judge in the game, 6-5. We are 6-6, third in the division. Baltimore's 5-7, and Tampa Bay's 4-6. So hopefully the Sox turn out. They were tied at 1 last time I checked, because as the bats have been cooling off after getting what looked like a 3-game wonder, or 1 hit if you count a series as a hit wonder, like some of these song records like Billy Ray Cyrus, "Have Achy Breaky Heart." But anyways, before we end the night, we're going to talk about my player of the week. And it is someone who I never thought I would give coming into this weekend. But let's get a drum roll, please. It is a Red Sox, and it is our oldest Chapman, who's been lights out. He's given up no runs so far. He's had a few saves and gotten a few victories, including one last week against the Cardinals. This man has been outstanding in the bullpen, trying to heal our worries all season long. This man deserves my play of the week. I thought Abreu was going to get it, or even Bregman, or you had Porzingis and Tatum last night having record games. Let's not forget how good even Pasternak's been playing, getting a hat trick, and Morgan Geekie getting the call every game. I had a real tough choice for play of the week, but since I said the main eventer was the play of the week was going to drive the main event for the evening this week on my social media feed. So congratulations to Aroldis Chapman, who's been a wonderful reliever and player for the Sox so far. Keep up the great work, as that's all we have for the night, folks. Anyways, thank you guys very much. Mock draft series with Abdul Carter. We'll get in the Reds. We'll check in on our colleges, too. We also will have hockey close out the show, whether it's our BU Terriers or our Boston Bruins for the final time to recap for the season, as the season's ending next Tuesday. And we'll preview the Celtics playing. So we have an action-packed show for you, and an emotional show could be. As thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to all the people, more viewers this week than the past 2 weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in and talking about my crazy accent. I am BMAdawg. Woo! Have a great week, and you BMAdawg signing off.